What's good, y'all? After coming off of a season where they were the 1 seed, with just 11 games left, the Miami Heat sit at 38-33 with the 7 seed in the play-in out in the Eastern Conference. I do think they will win at least one of the play-in games, so luckily for them, they will move on into the playoffs if they do that. But unluckily for them, they would then have to verse the 1 or 2 seed, which right now is looking like it's either going to be the Milwaukee Bucks or the Boston Celtics. So the odds are the Heat will be a first-round exit this season, and as I said, fall from grace from last year, making it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's looking like they might have to make some moves. We all know that Jimmy Butler is one of the most competitive people in the NBA. We all know he wants to win a championship, and we all know that he has before X'd out of a situation where he knows he can't win a championship. So in this video, I'm going to be coming up with a few different situations on what could happen with Jimmy Butler. But before we do that, I just want to go over a few things that he's bringing to the Miami Heat this season that he could bring onto a future new team potentially. Jimmy just barely missed being an all-star this season, putting up fantastic numbers. 23 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists on career-high field goal percentage, 53%, 34% from 3, and 1.9 steals per game. And although Jimmy Butler is 33 this season, as you just saw, he's putting up incredible numbers still. On top of that, so far this season, he's played 56 games, and if he plays in just 2 more out of the 11 games left for the Heat, he will play his most games in the season for the Heat. So the health is still there for Jimmy, even though he's getting up there in age. This is the first time that he's shot over 50% from the field in his entire career. That was a little surprising to me. I know he's not the best jump shooter, but still he is a fantastic finisher. We'll talk about that a little bit further in the video. But speaking of jump shooting, this is the first time as a member of the Miami Heat that he is shooting over 25% from 3. I know the bar was set pretty low. He's up to 32 now, which still isn't the best, but above 25, that's the best he's been as a Heat member. Regardless of his 3-point percentage going up, Jimmy's still getting to his bread and butter and just finishing at the rim at an elite rate. An astounding 68% of all of Jimmy's shots that he takes come from within 10 feet of the basket. And he's shooting a very nice 58.9% on those shots. Jimmy really is in the upper echelon of finishers in the NBA. Jimmy is in the top 15 of players that drive to the basket the most. He does it 13.8 times a game. And on those drives, he averages 8 points, which puts him at 21st in the league, 1.4 assists, which puts him at 19th. And despite the high volume, he only gives up half of a turnover per game on these drives, which ranks him 63rd of eligible players. The lower ranking is a good thing, by the way. The person with the highest turnovers would be first. Although his finishing is fantastic, I don't even think that's what his best quality is. Me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you guys also will agree on this, I think his best quality is his defense. As you guys saw before with his stats, he's averaging 1.9 steals per game. That puts him at 2nd in the league, only behind OG Anunoby, who's averaging 2.0. So if he just gets a few more steals in these last games, maybe he could become the steals leader. I don't know, it's really close. And then when you look at Butler's advanced defensive stats, they're pretty good numbers too. Comparing him to his teammates on Miami's 7th ranked defense, he's 2nd in defensive rating, only behind Bam Adebayo at 111. Defensive win share is the same, 2nd only behind Bam at 2.7. And then defensive box plus minus, he is 1st on the Miami Heat at 2.0. So Jimmy is one of those guys that he is going to guard 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 4, depending on who you're running at power forward, and make their life hell. He's got the big 6'7" size, you know, he's a strong man there too, so he can bang down low with some of the bigger wings. And then he's also got the quickness in the hands, the quickness in the feet, shuffling them, staying in front of those quick guards too. He can really do a lot on the defensive end. He's a big wrecking ball on that side of the court. Ever since he's gotten to the league, he's had elite defensive IQ and defensive instincts. He can jump over a screen, go under, slip through, get right back in front of his man. He's great with the on-ball steals. He's great with the off-ball steals, getting in them passing lanes, running out in transition to get those easy offensive buckets. He really just transforms your team's whole defense. But a lot of people do say that the NBA is a 4th quarter league. None of that matters until you get down to the crunch time. And when you're looking at the crunch time, Jimmy Butler is still one of the best players in the league. Despite the disappointing record, the Miami Heat are one of the scrappiest and toughest teams to beat in the NBA. They always keep games close, and because of that, they've played in a lot of clutch time games. Doing research for this video, I saw Bam leads the league in clutch games played at 44, I believe it was. So Jimmy didn't play in all of those games, but he did play in 39 of them, which is tied for 6th most in the league. And in those clutch games, he gets about 4.1 clutch minutes a game. During those minutes, though, he is super efficient and super productive. As you see there, 11th in points per games in the clutch at 3.5. His assists are double his turnovers in the clutch. The steals are still there. The defensive side of the ball, of course, ranking 24th in steals. And then, of course, the efficiency from the field, 48.9% in the clutch. That is 5th amongst players who take at least 2 clutch shot attempts per game. So those are just Jimmy's clutch numbers from this season right now. But in years past, many times, every time he hits the playoffs, numbers just skyrocket up. Efficiency up, intensity up, rebounds, assists, literally across the board. Every statistical category for Jimmy Butler goes up in the playoffs. That's what he lives for. And then on top of that, any team he's been on, he's been the closer. Even on that stacked Philly team when you had Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. I don't know why I started with Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, JJ Redick. He was the closer there. I remember so vividly the step back 3 against Brooklyn that he hit to win the game. He is built for this. He's never afraid of the moment. He is clutch. So now that I've gone over what Jimmy Butler has been doing this season and what he could bring on to a potential team, let's talk about some trades that could maybe happen. So in this first trade, I got Jimmy G Buckets coming over to the New York Knicks in exchange for RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Evan Fournier, who's in here for salary filler, Dallas's first round pick this season, a 2025 unprotected Knicks pick, and a 2027 unprotected Knicks pick. So in this hypothetical, Jimmy Butler gets to come over to New York and reunite with his 2-time former coach, both in Chicago and in Minnesota, Tom Thibodeau. Obviously, those guys, both of them love him. Derrick Rose is going to still be on the team. He's probably not going to be on the team realistically, but, you know, he's still got that connection right there. We all know Thibodeau loves guys. He just traded for Josh Hart. Jimmy Butler's like Josh Hart on crack. Loves hustle guys, love defensive guys, love guys that don't complain. They just want to go in and work. That's Jimmy Butler right there. He gets to slide into the starting role where RJ was, so the Knicks would have a starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, Jimmy Butler, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. That sounds like defensive hell. With Jalen Brunson missing the last few games for the Knicks, we have seen that they desperately need another closer besides him, because when he's not on the court, things just don't go too smoothly. Just mentioned how Jimmy Butler is a fantastic closer, great clutch guy. So him, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle really doesn't perform too well in the clutch. So mostly them two right there can run a little 2-man and close out games for the Knicks. I think he would be a perfect fit. And then when you look at it from Miami's side, you get the 3 first-round picks, 2 of them being unprotected from the Knicks. So you never really know where those are going to fall. And then on top of that, they build their young core out. So now they would have Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, RJ Barrett, and Obi Toppin all under the age of 25. Actually, Obi and Bam are 25, so 25 and under on that. Still a pretty solid core right there. And RJ's not having the best season for the Knicks right now. Me personally, I think it's going to be a lot like Andrew Wiggins, how he, has pressure to be this number 1 guy, number 2 guy. And he's just not that. Respectfully, not everyone in the NBA is that. So I think if he gets shipped out this offseason and he is in a new, situation, new space for him, I think he could really come out on his own and be a solid contributor to a team. Also, you see right there, I am a Knicks fan, so I'm kind of hoping this happens. I would love Jimmy Butler on my team, man. It would be amazing. And here is the second trade. We finally get Dame Dollar a suitable number 2 option right here in Portland. We got Jimmy Butler and Orlando Robinson going over to the Portland Trail Blazers in exchange for Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, a 2023 Knicks pick, a 2025 Portland pick, and a 2027 top 3 protected Portland first round pick. As I said, in this hypothetical, Dame finally gets a solidified number 2 option, another guy that has been a guy before. He has Jeremy Grant still on his team. There's tears to this, though. Jeremy Grant is not as good as Jimmy Butler, obviously. But their potential starting lineup could be Dame. At that 2 spot, they have a lot of fluidity there. They can start Shaedon Sharpe. They could start Matisse Thybulle, who's been really shooting lights out for them. They could start Cam Reddish there. Then have Jimmy Butler at the 3. They got Jeremy Grant at the 4. And then at that 5 spot, Yusuf Nurkic hasn't really been having a fantastic season for them. So they get Orlando Robinson back. They could start him. They could start Drew Eubanks, who's had a pretty decent season for them. They could draft a guy. They could sign a guy, whatever. They would have to get that center position situated right there. But still, Dame and Jimmy Butler, 2 of the clutchest players, if not the 2 clutchest players in the NBA on one team. That's scary. And then for Miami, of course, you do get Anthony Simons. So you got Anthony Simons and Tyler Hero, 2 buckets in your backcourt right there. Not much defense going on in that backcourt, but you still got Bam down low to hold it down, hopefully. But still, a lot of offense from those two guys. Then you got Jusuf Nurkic, who you could use to come off the bench. You could slide Bam to the 4 if you want to get super big on them. If this trade does go down, I could definitely see them moving Jusuf Nurkic at the trade deadline, though, for more pieces, more rebuild tools, maybe another first-round pick or something like that. And then, of course, they do get the other 3 picks. This one, I did put a protection on that Portland pick just because it is too far in the future. And, you know, Dame is getting up there in age. Jimmy Butler is getting up there in age. I'm sure Portland wouldn't want to just give an unprotected 2027 out there. So with that protection on there, I still think the Miami Heat's getting some pretty good feedback from that. And then I didn't mock up trades for this, but there is also obviously the opportunity where Jimmy Butler stays on the Miami Heat and they try to just take and pull pieces to them. A big splash trade could be, you know, if the 76ers blow up, James Harden goes to Houston, maybe Joel Embiid goes to Miami. Maybe, you know, the Clippers, they have a disappointing season for like the 5th time in a row, and they get Paul George or Kawhi to pull up in Miami. You never really know. There's always, you know, there's thousands, millions of opportunities, stuff that could happen. These are just 2 trades that I thought were pretty fun. Let me know which trade you guys think is better in the comments down below. The Knicks trade or the Portland trade. Nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there'll be links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.